United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start the meeting off with public comment on the agenda items. Hearing none, we'll move on to line item C, consensus items.
So there were a couple changes. Last minute, we did get a couple of folks we had in the hiring pipeline get some of their things through, and so I think Lori had adjusted the consensus item part of the agenda to list those individuals. Several are just additions to folks or transfers of folks who are already working here. 2 of them are. So I think that's all I have on that one. No.
Questions, comments, concerns on the consensus items as presented?
No questions. I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion on the table by Eric to approve the consensus items as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Go ahead. You were first.
Motion on the table by Eric, seconded by Dave to accept the consensus items as presented. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposition, same sign. That stands 6-0. Program update, we have none this evening. Old business, we have none this evening. Okay. On to F, line item 1, the discussion of the 25-26 school calendar.
And in your notes, that should say 25-26 instead of 24-25. So this year's calendar discussions have been a little more complex than they have been in the last couple of years. I sent out a survey to the community, in fact sent it out, I think, on 3 separate platforms on 2 different occasions, and then surveyed the staff as well. Some of the things that we're butting up with are some of our area schools are choosing to start later. Wells County adopted their calendar fairly early, which is fine. They wanted to start, in their words, the double digits of August, which again, I certainly understand that. The difficulty I had in reviewing that was that they were only going to have an 82 to 83 day first semester versus a 97 day second semester. As old high school principal, that doesn't bode well, especially with all the dual credit we offer. So I really wasn't on board with that, which meant we'd either have to start earlier, do finals after Christmas break, which again, old high school principal and me did not like that. Kind of, you're just setting yourself up to have high rates of failure in that situation. So looked at a lot of different things, and this is just an opportunity for you to ask questions, think about it for the next month. Some things that I put in my notes. We usually do try to kind of sort of match, and we're matching on fall break, we're matching on Christmas break, and we're matching on spring break. So the only things we're really not right now matching with Wells County and a little bit of our Adams County neighbors are about 3 to 4 days in the start, same at the end. There might be some differences in when waiver days are asked for or whatever. But again, just so you have an understanding of the things we have to keep in mind, we have to plan for 180 student days, not counting our waiver days, because those have to be applied for. If we don't get them, we still have to have 180 days. One caveat that I can tell you, our elementary school and I, after helping over there the last few years at the first week of school, is you don't want to start primary students, especially preschool and kindergarten, on a full week. It is 3-day week would be ideal. I think what we have here is a 2-day week. Otherwise, we're bringing teachers back on that Monday. Just because they get so tired by the end of the week, I see them just basically lay down and sleep on the playground, and it's a lot. So 2 to 3 days, at least they're getting some expectations and protocols, and then they get a break, and then we hit it again the next week. So I really don't want a full week for them that first week. I really prefer to end first semester before winter break, let the high school students take their finals. Trying to balance a little bit. I usually do like to have a slightly longer second semester, but that's more when we're likely to have cancellations, 2-hour delays, and a lot of the testing happens second semester. So there's a lot more disruption. So a few more days is fine. Again, what the other county had proposed was maybe just a little too much difference for my liking. Another, and this is more a personal preference, there are people on my team who agree with it, there are people on my team who are ambivalent and don't care. I like to have the students done by Memorial Day. I feel they get burnt out and their attention wanes a lot, well before Memorial Day probably, but especially for our young kids who finished their testing, their big test. It just, to me, seems like we're managing a lot more behaviors by the end. And so, if possible, I like to try to end with kids by Memorial Day. I gave you in your notes several of the survey results, so some things are a little different than they have been in previous years when I've done this. Just kind of going through that. So asking the community versus the staff on their preference on start. So again, starting the week of August 4th versus the week of August 11th, it was kind of half and half. On the community, after we put it out a second time, a little more preferred the week of August 11th, a few more people. Staff, it literally was half and half of August 4th, week of August 4th versus August 11th. So one of the, again, if we start later, we have to look at where can we pare down days. And so I know South Adams, potentially, I don't think they have an approved calendar yet, has historically only done a 2 or 3 day fall break, whereas we have done a full week. And so one of the questions I always ask is, and I put the wrong staff survey on there, but do you prefer a full week of fall break or a 2 or 3 day fall break? Community, there you see, again, it was closer to half and half this time than it has been. It had been fairly predominantly, we want the full week. Still more wanted the full week than didn't, about 53 to 47. I can tell you in the staff survey, and again, I cut and paste the wrong image, 67% of staff wanted the full week. Just a nice break, and I think those folks who like to travel, fall break sometimes is a cheaper time to travel than spring break. One of the things that I do think is impacting some of our staff, our community's input, is childcare. Again, when some of our factories, I think their shutdown times, like everyone, pretty much staff and community, wanted the full 2-week Christmas break. Well, I think we have some shutdowns during that time that makes childcare a little more viable for them, whereas fall break, I don't know that there are the shutdowns for a lot of the families that we have. So I think that childcare probably leads some of those changes that we're seeing in how long you want for fall break for some families that don't go away or don't have that time off. Again, looking at what do you really want? If we had to make decisions on where to pare down different days, would you rather have, again, the day before Thanksgiving off, which we've done the last couple of years? This has been a snow makeup day, so if we didn't have any cancellations like this year, I know we have a couple weeks still that something could happen, but we'll get the day before Thanksgiving off. That's been popular. Or would you rather have a full week winter break, start later, end earlier? And by and large, most people wanted more than anything the full week winter break, which again on this calendar was possible.
And then it's
Staff,
just
same thing.
two
Go
weeks,
ahead.
correct? A full 2 week winter
Yes.
break? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Staff said the same thing, they'd rather have a full week. Moving to talking about spring break, we have, a couple years ago, we're able to give off the Friday before spring break because it was Good Friday and we take that day off anyway in the last several years. And so again, just trying to survey community and staff, is that desirous to have that day built in as a day off? And no, 62% of community said 1 week's plenty of time for a vacation, especially with bookends of 2 weekends. And 67% of staff said the same thing. That's a little bit on more than we had seen, but again, I think it comes down to childcare sometime if you're having to still work and where are you gonna take your kids during that time. I tried to give you a comparison on the next thing you see in your notes with kind of a grid, calendar grid for what Wells County is proposing, and then a little bit of comparison between the 3 districts here in Adams County. And the final thing that we surveyed staff and community on was the commencement. And so again, we asked first that they identify if they were a high school staff member or had a senior next year incoming. The staff definitely prefers a Friday night commencement, and so did the community. Again, it wasn't overriding, but 36 on Friday %, 31 on Sunday. So the good thing is we don't have to worry about a Memorial Day weekend in 25, 26. So that's always a good thing. And I know there are several people who would like it to get off that weekend when it works, and it worked in the calendar this time. So are there any discussion or pieces of information you would like more of? Because I would like you to make a decision on this calendar next month, so that folks who start scheduling vacations and whatever can start doing that. And a lot of our classes, not a lot of them, but we have several classes that are taking kids on international trips now, and they like to start getting those on the calendar pretty quickly.
How many surveys did you send out?
Well, we sent it out to all, again, parents and then all staff. We received 638 responses on the community one and about 135 on the faculty one.
Pretty good numbers. Yeah. So if you delayed start to the week of the 11th, it would simply be staff would come in on the 12th and 13th, students on the 14th?
Well, it can be any number of things. We could do staff on the 11th and 12th, students come in on the 13th.
Okay.
Again, it's how, but then we have to,
But we still have time.
4 days, we have to
Make
find
that, yeah.
somewhere else.
Now, there's not as much desire for the full fall break yet, which is, I did, like you mentioned, I found that to be interesting, because those numbers are always pretty high.
Yes, it was always a vast majority. Again, the staff is still over 2/3, but community is kind of, what was it, 52, 53% in
Yeah.
favor of the full week, 40-some percent a shorter break. Again, I just wonder how much that relies on, it's difficult to find childcare.
That's really
It just
good.
is.
How does, and you're looking at going into the holidays and stuff, and how much preparation people are already doing, are they really gonna travel much before that too, that really is kind of a
Right.
moot point?
Right.
Yeah, I feel like the full 2 weeks for Christmas break was not a popular choice the last couple of years, but it was this year, it looks like. So.
Yeah.
I think for staff, it feels really short when you come back without that second weekend, I guess.
And really, yeah.
I'm not going to have a vote in it because we're here anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
But with the way where the days fall and everything like that, I mean, yeah, you could maybe carry them into the 22nd or 23rd possibly, if you so desired, but, you know, the 2 weeks is a nice break.
It is. As a mom, I will say, and again, it's just how things go. It is a mom who's cooking and wrapping, and if you have to travel,
Those 2 or few days beforehand are nice.
yeah,
That's a really
at
good
least the
point.
day before is
Well, yeah.
a lot of prepping.
Yeah, of course. That's a
But
really good point.
again,
Yeah.
that's just life, and not everyone gets those days. I think some of the comments I've heard on the 2 week is that I think we just have a lot more families that are more distant from one another, and there's a lot more traveling, or families where there's maybe a divorce situation and their kids are needing to go to a couple different family members' homes to celebrate. And again, like I said, I think it's maybe easier if there's more often shutdowns in our local factories for families to not have to worry about childcare then and paying extra for childcare.
Yeah.
I mean, there seems to be, you know, a desire for the full week, fall break, you know, then Christmas break into, you know, like what we're showing here. I mean, I like the balanced approach, like what you have, you know, trying to balance it on both sides of Christmas.
Could
Yeah.
skip the Thursday, Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Wednesday morning.
I think that's a good snow day option.
I think you've done a great job taking everybody's input there. I only have one question. Are you concerned at all about running up to May 22nd? I know we haven't had to deal with it, but if you had snow days that ran you to the point where we were going to have to start back up again after Memorial Day, if one of the goals was to be finished. So the only two thoughts that I had was what Carla said, was not giving Wednesday before Thanksgiving off, and what was the other one? Maybe moving the start to the 6th instead of the 7th, just to give yourself a couple of days, so that if you do have extra snow days, although we now have some other options with those as far as the synchronous learning too, that we didn't have in many years
We
past.
do.
So,
We
I just
also
wondered
haven't
whether that
had a
made
really
you, I
bad
just,
winter in a long time.
right, I just didn't know if that made you
It's gonna be
nervous
too bad.
running all the
I've
way
seen
up
Willie
to
Brown,
the.
It's pretty brown.
The woolly worm's
Yeah.
brown, so we're
Is that
okay.
bad or good?
That's good.
That's good?
Okay.
A lot of dirt means there'd not be that much snow.
Okay.
Just running up to the
Okay,
22nd.
story, you
and
can
not
stick
being
to it.
snow.
It was in
How to
a book.
interpret it.
It was in a book, guys.
Yeah.
I've seen it where the kids.
I mean, overall,
This is your school
it looks
hard work. Yeah,
pretty similar to what we've done the last few years,
It
so,
is fairly
so it
similar.
might as well.
I did want
have no
to
problems with
note that I am considering asking for a fourth flex day. We've only done 3 in the past. If you see the fourth one we're proposing, it's April 24th. Reason for that is with the new iLearn configurations, now we have the 3 checkpoints, which we've made sure our proposed dates for the flex days are fairly close to when the data should be back from those. And then the 24th would be an opportunity to review that summative data that comes in, as well as doing end of year, first of next year planning for what do we need to get in place to do differently, so that there's plenty of time to work with staff and start gathering that information. So that is a consideration. Right now, I think that being able to have that crunch of time to be able to talk with staff about, okay, this is where we ended up, this is how things went, what do we need to look at changing, what planning over the summer do we need to do, what are some things that we could do different with schedules, what are some things we could do different with interventions. I think that's time well spent to have those kind of conversations, and just time to review the data that you get and being able to really dig into it over a period of time. So that's where that came from. I forgot to mention that earlier.
Okay, that looks good.
Well, like I said, take some time, review it. I'm sure you have people you can talk to, see what their thoughts are. If you do have anything, please contact me so that I can be looking at things too, and then we'll review it next month.
Keeping in mind December is the last meeting for the year.
That's already.
I cannot believe we are that, I don't know what happened in November, but it was November 1st.
I don't know what happened to June.
True. There we go. It's just faster and faster.
Yeah. Thank you for the discussion on that. At this time, we're going to close our normal board meeting, and we will open the bond hearing meeting. The next item on the agenda is for the board to hold an additional appropriation hearing on the proposed bond proceeds. If you are interested in speaking at the hearing, please make sure you have provided your name and address on the sheet provided. There will be an opportunity for public to make comments about the additional appropriation. Public comment will be allowed as is provided by board policy. The notice of this additional appropriation hearing was published as legally required. We will now open the public hearing. Remember, if you would like to speak, please sign in on the sheet which is located with Lori. As I mentioned earlier, we ask that you state your name and address, limit your comments to the proposed additional appropriation of bond proceeds, and avoid being repetitive if possible. Lori, would you provide the sheet if we do? No speakers. Okay. Do you have any additional comment that you want to share?
Again, this is our final hearing in this GO bond process. So this is after we've had the 30 days for any folks in the community who wanted to remonstrate, and we received none. So at this time, you'll be, again, getting an opportunity at the end of the public hearing to approve or not the additional appropriation resolution. And we'll talk about that when we get there. But just for public who are here, this GO bond is something to help keep our tax rate neutral in the debt service tax. And it is going to accomplish the largest part of our roofing project that's been going on for the last several years and will continue for another couple of years. It's the old middle school. It's due for a new roof. That was just part of what we already had planned. So this will pay for that, as well as replace the old wood structure over at the football stadium, and install a new ADA compliant ramp and platform so that our folks who have mobility issues can safely and comfortably watch the game and get to where they need to get to. So those are the two items that will be accomplished by this.
There's no additional comment, concerns? We will close the public hearing and reopen the routine board meeting. Thank you.
So at this time, you are receiving my recommendation to approve the additional appropriation resolution. So basically, what happens here is before we would sell the bonds or get that money, this resolution allows us to reimburse ourselves if we have to pay any costs, like to the architect, the civil engineer, if we had to have any dirt bores done or any drawings done, if we have any bills that related to this project before we actually get the sale of the bonds finalized and the money, this allows us to reimburse ourselves, is basically what happens.
Any additional questions, comments, concerns? So you need a motion at this time then to accept the appropriations for the resolution as presented. Are you still reading? Sorry, I was going to say, I didn't know if you were waiting to.
Nope.
I was like, okay, you can't read anymore. So I do need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion on the table by Tim. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion on the table by Tim, seconded by Jill to approve the additional appropriations resolution. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Let that stand with a 6-0 vote.
Okay, and then the next resolution for approval is the final bond resolution. And again, this is pretty much the final part of moving the GO bond purchase for sale of the bond forward. This is where you will approve the maximum amount to be borrowed, which is 1.2 million. And I've lost my form. You have in your packet the maximum term of repayment, which it's usually far longer than we plan on taking, just to give us some latitude, and the maximum interest rate. I think we got a really good interest rate. We got was it an A+ A rating from the
A and then a double A plus.
okay,
That's good.
whatever that means.
Just sounds
It means
really
we
good.
have,
AA.
we are in good shape financially. We are able to take out this bond, repay it in a timely manner. We have shown good fiscal management. Just making sure. So again, that's pretty much it. Amount to be borrowed, maximum term of repayment, and the maximum interest rate. And it authorizes the notice of the sale of bonds.
Question, comment, concern? Can I have a motion then to adopt, a motion and a second to adopt the final bond resolution?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
A motion on the table by Dave, seconded by Carla, to accept the final bond resolution as presented. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Let that stand with a 6-0 vote. And we're on to the ratification of the 24-25 master contract.
So NADA did ratify the tentative master agreement unanimously before our last meeting where we had held discussion. So you have received updates on what the master agreement would meet at the October board meeting. So at this time, I am recommending that our board ratify the 24-25 master contract.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Not a problem. Not a problem. Just want to make sure.
Of course, if there's any questions.
I was going to say, any question come in. This is based on the information you had
Yes,
previously shared
this
in the
is what
discussion
we,
from last meeting.
Yes. You received copies of that information.
Make a motion to approve the 24-25 master contract
Have a
as
motion
presented last week.
tabled by Eric. Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion on the table by Eric, seconded by Tim. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We'll let that stand with a 6-0 vote. On to line item F6, approval of the 25 SRO MOU.
So we have a new SRO officering through Elwell, and he's doing a great job for us, already been really involved and helped with a lot of our safety planning and training. But again, we have a new person who has different rank and different things like that, so we have to have a revised MOU. And so, again, this is actually going to cost us a little less this year because I'm not sure you knew or not, but Officer Elwell is in the Air National Guard. And so he gets his insurance through them, and that helps our bottom line and the city's bottom line some. But so you have that. I did put in there, and we're still working with the city, but I think we're good as of today. Just a few more things that I think I've seen in some other MOUs that are just basically protections about who's in charge of what kind of things can be entered as evidence. When is the SRO an administrator versus a police officer, and making distinction of that, because that's very important if anything would come to be a criminal proceeding. But other than that, it's all the same. Again, and he has CODA, and CODA is doing great, and they're bonding very well, and CODA is probably very safe to say could be the most spoiled dog in the world. Has 1,600 people that love to see him anywhere he goes. He has lots of dog mamas who have treats for him. But Andy keeps him under good control, let me tell you. He puts the boundaries on. But he is definitely, he knows he's loved.
Wait.
That's what I was thinking.
He's not. Andy makes him, he tells us when we have to stop.
It's good because Cody's gonna need a wagon if not.
He's an athletic guy.
He chases my son down the hall, so he'll be Actually, that's Officer Elwell.
Do I have any questions, comments, concerns with the MOU? Reserve officer. We've had this in place for how many years now? I mean,
This is the third year for CODA.
He's two.
and then from overall Trent was with us for how long?
We've got an SRO.
No, there was a couple more before
Yeah, and
that.
then before him, but I mean, Trent was with us.
It's been 10 years.
It's not been,
15.
yeah, I was gonna say that was
10,
one of the good things that was implemented, and it's always been kind of a shared agreement between us and
Yeah.
the police department, so that's not a big change there, it's just a change in personnel, so.
Yeah.
If there are no additional questions, comments, concerns, I will entertain a motion to accept and approve the 2025 SRO MOU.
I'll make a motion.
A motion on the table by Jill, do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion on the table by Jill, seconded by Dave to accept and approve the 2025 SRO MOU. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Let that stand with a 6-0 vote. Line item F7, approval of the North Adams bonds.
So this again is for our folks who handle money or process money. Our ECA secretary, Beth, Lori, treasurer, deputy treasurer, do it at a different time of year. This is for food service. And so there's basically 3 parts of this. There is the updated 2024 public official bond schedule that took effect September 4th, 2024. So we need something for auditing purposes to show that you folks approved that change. And then the approval for Erin Ripley Stewart as food service director and her public official bond, and then approving the 25 public official bond schedule. You can vote on these collectively or individually.
These are all for food service, or was one of these for athletic secretary?
I don't think these are for athletic secretary. This is all
On the
food
schedule,
service.
there are some secretary positions.
There are, okay, I was gonna say, I thought there was something on there.
Thank you.
I was like, I just remember the extracurricular is one of the more expensive or higher bonds, if I remember correctly. So-
I thought we had approved her at a different
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to approve all 3 at once, if that's okay with everybody else.
Bold.
I really want
You know, I saw that.
If there's no opposition to that, I have a motion on the table by Eric to approve all 3 as presented. One time, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
You're not going to repeat all that? I have a motion on
Exactly
the
as
table-
you said it.
I have a motion on the table by Eric, seconded by Tim to approve the updated 2024 public official bond schedule, the approval of NACS Nutrition Department public official bond, and the 2025 public official position
Wow,
bond
it's
schedule.
almost like you took it right out of my
That's
mouth.
it. That's it. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We'll let that stand with a 6-0 vote. Item F8, approval of donations.
So the Adams County Health Department had received some extra funding from the state and have been very generous with all the schools in Adams County, us in particular. So one of the things that they've already done is donated funds and also supplies and equipment to help outfit our 2 nurses' clinics, and that has been extremely helpful to have not only extra supplies, but supplies maybe we weren't able to always just have on hand. And so that's been really great as a service to our nurses, our students, and our families, because several of them are in the form of kits that kids can take home to help with different things so that families can address what their needs might be. But they also had a lot of funding, and some of that could go through just for wellness and fitness initiatives. Well, our weight rooms are always in need of revamped equipment and new equipment. They're very expensive, anyone that's tried to buy home gym or certainly commercial gym type equipment. So they have donated almost $15,700 toward fitness equipment for our middle school and high school weight rooms, and we are extremely grateful for their generosity, and that's certainly going to help a lot what we can do with our students in the world of weight training. And so we are certainly appreciative of them for those efforts and their generosity and being willing to be, again, creative in how they're looking at wellness and healthcare and prevention.
It's awesome.
We thank them for that. We have a motion on the table to approve the donation from the Adams County Health Department.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion on the table by Carla, do I have second?
Second.
A motion on the table by Carla, seconded by Jill to approve the Adams County Health Department donation. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Let that stand with a 6-0 vote. To the superintendent's report.
Well, it's been a busy fall. So fall sports have wound down, and I think tonight is the home opener for boys basketball already. Believe it or not, we are already there in winter sports. We just completed, the high school did their career fair on Friday, and it was huge and a huge success. We are over 100 vendors now. The kids had a great time, and I appreciate they were so not well behaved, because I expect that, and they were, but they were well prepared and asked great questions, and really, and our guidance counselors and our staff did a great job in prepping them and helping prepare them. Again, big shout out to our 3 guidance counselors at the high school. They have done this for several years now, and they just do a top-notch job. It's now required in our state to have some type of career fair for our juniors, seniors. And so it's a blessing that we've already had that on the books and been doing it for years. And I can tell you there's other people certainly wanting to jump on that bandwagon and work with us on that, and that's great since we have that capacity. And then that afternoon, since the day we were kind of at an odd time with Veterans Day, they went ahead and had a Veterans Day program that afternoon. That was really nice. Again, Brian Lineberry and the Social Studies Department and Topics in World War II history students always do a great job with that, and certainly appreciative of them. Had nice snacks, lunch, hors d'oeuvres for the career fair participants and our veterans who came and joined us. So can't say enough great things. I did want to give a shout out to Brian Lineberry. We were up for our Purple Heart distinction wall to be recertified by the state, and he did that this fall, and we just got word from that in the last month that we have been recertified for another few years. And so thank you to him for doing all the extra work to get that. Because it's not a small amount of things. You have to really show that you have a heart for veterans and actively deployed, active enlisted folks, and that you're helping support their families and students who have fathers and mothers who are on active deployment or who are just active members of our armed services. So he always does a great job with that. We appreciate that. Word just went out on social media. Again, I told you I think last month, but I'm really excited because I think this could be so fun, and I hope it continues to be kind of a annual event. But I think they're calling it Senior with Seniors Grandparent Breakfast. So our seniors at Belmont High School are supposed to invite their grandparents and to have breakfast with them here at school on Friday, November 22nd from 8:15 to 9:15 in the high school cafeteria. I think the grandparents might have a little bit of a surprise, and I hope they enjoy it. So I really hope to see a lot of our grandparents, or really just anyone that has filled the role of a grandparent for any of our students. So I think that could be really fun. And I think our grandparents will get a kick out of it. I really do. I think that'll be special for them and a great memory. Another thing that we have to do per state law is have body safety training. And so we had already done that with the elementary, and that information went out to parents a few weeks ago. Upcoming middle school is November 19th and December 5th is the high school. And that covers everything from, again, prevention of abuse to how do you report to human trafficking information and how to identify when grooming might be happening, or, again, things, stranger danger for the younger kids, things like that. We have a dinner theater November 21st through the 23rd that Jamie Macklin is hosting. It's going to be a Clue murder mystery dinner theater that we are encouraging people to attend. It's going to be a performance in the cafeteria with, again, dinner provided. So encourage people to buy tickets for that and attend. It'd be a fun thing to do, maybe if you have any family coming in for an early holiday. 3rd and 4th grade musical is December 4th. And that's always fun, and they do a great job. Jackie Sanderson always does a great job with those little kids. They do some amazing things for their age, and she's a phenom, certainly. Band concert, our new band director is having a winter concert again, December 13th that evening, and our choir is performing December 16th, so anyone who likes holiday music, please plan on coming for that. And again, we haven't had any reason to be worried about bad weather. In fact, it's been a Indian summer, I guess, the second summer, it seems, most of this fall. The last 2 days, I think we're starting to get the taste that winter is coming. But reminding people to review their e-learning protocols, that if we would need to cancel and have e-learning, we have all those things that have been shared with students posted, sent home. Other than that, I'm probably forgetting something, but I think that's all I have right now.
I'd say the kids sounded great in the parade.
They did. And that was a great parade.
Yeah. Beautiful weather.
Lots of people.
Beautiful weather, yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you, Tim. We have other matters to come before the board, by the board.
Just got a few items, ISBA items. You know, as you all know, we've got a long session coming up here, which is the budget session. One of the issues that seems to be getting some traction down at the State House, especially with the new administration coming in, is the concept of property tax, the property tax issue. I.e., you know, trying to minimize property taxes, not necessarily remove property taxes, but definitely taking a look at property taxes and how could that burden, that tax burden on taxpayers be reduced. Now, you know, that all sounds well and good. Oh my goodness, less property taxes. Well, if you remember, you know, a big chunk of what we do, of the money we receive to support our students, comes from property taxes. And so the ISBA is definitely keeping an eye on what is going to be happening with the issue of property taxes this year. Because, you know, both here and then, you know, a lot of the other local entities. I had lunch with, today with an Allen County commissioner, one of the commissioners up in Allen County, and they've got people down at Indianapolis going to be following that closely too, because your local entities, like your cities and towns and counties also, a lot of what they do is supported by property taxes. So you're going to be seeing ISBA talking about that a lot next year. Whoever the legislative liaison is going to be, you know, that's probably going to be an issue that they'll maybe need to keep an eye on, you know, as time goes on. I'm sorry?
So maybe they'll get rid of the tax.
Now, that's a constitutional issue, so the tax cap, that would be very tough. You know, they ended up writing that into the Constitution, and it passed unanimously, or passed overwhelmingly by the taxpayers, so,
But not all.
I tell you what, the unintentional consequences of that have been far-reaching, that's for sure. So that'll be one of the issues that you'll probably be hearing a lot of next year, is the concept of property taxes, you know, how they're going to revise that, you know, how the state is going to face that. I thought one of the interesting things that we're also going to be following next year, and really knocking on quite a few doors, is summer school reimbursement. Now, this is something I did not know before, but since 2001, the state appropriation for summer school reimbursement has been at $18.3 million a year, and it's been a steady line since 2001. Last year, the state received $28.1 million of costs submitted by school corporations, and so the schools have spent $28 million on summer school, but the state has only reimbursed them 18.3. So right now, the schools are being reimbursed about 65% of what they actually submit on average. Now, one of the interesting things are that we are seeing more and more schools needing summer school because of the state mandate as far as the reading issues. So we're being told by the state, okay, you need to improve reading, which I 100% support. There's nothing in me that says that is a bad idea. But a lot of that is falling on our summer school programs, which costs our schools more money because we, of course, you know, have to pay for the materials, the equipment, the teachers, the time, everything going on. But yet our state has not increased their reimbursement, you know, since 2001. So one of the things that ISB is going to be fighting for this year is to increase that $10 million to try to at least get us caught up to what our 2024 or 2023 expenses were. So I just thought that was, it's somewhat of a little bit of a minor item compared to some, but then again, it really isn't that minor. When you look at, you know, that is a loss for many of our school systems. So I thought that was really interesting. They pointed that out. So ISBA is going to be doing a lot of things next year, you know, hopefully whoever takes this over will be, looking forward to, attending these regional lunch or suppers, dinners, and hearing what's going on with the ISBA. So we've got that going on. The other thing is, as legislative liaison, I guess it's actually a separate appointed. I serve on the redevelopment commission. And the redevelopment commission this year, we have implemented 2 additional TIF districts in the city of Decatur. Both of those are what we call a residential TIF, an RTIF. And one of them is for, in the 2 developments that we have placed new TIFs in town. The first one is the Lake Shores expansion, and then the second one is the Meadows of Cross Creek. So what that means is that money is new taxes, new property taxes that are going to be generated by the homes that are going to be built in those subdivisions. And the redevelopment commission captures that money, so that money does not get distributed out to your taxing entities. But what you have to do with that residential TIF money is somehow benefit future residential growth. A lot of the money that is going to be captured, in those 2 developments is going to be going to the downtown apartment project. And you've maybe heard about what the plans are. Redevelopment is planning on putting apartments and park development and things like that along First Street. So between First Street and the river, okay? Right now, the plans are that the residential is more toward the downtown, and the park development is over by Riverside Center, across from the river there. There may be changes in that, but that's sort of a preliminary idea there. But one of the things Redevelopment Commission has said is one of the things we have to do in Decatur is get more residential numbers. We've got to get more residential occupancy, more residential units in the city of Decatur, because there is a dire need for homes, apartments, condominiums here in Decatur. And so, we have people almost on a daily basis trying to move to Decatur, but there are no homes available, no apartments available, no condos, anything for them to come to. So, and as a school system, we need to obviously support that, because traditionally it means, if people are coming into Decatur, well, hopefully they've got, 1, 2, 3, 28 kids with them, whatever it is. This isn't the 80s, so it's not 28 anymore. But they have those kids with them that ultimately become, students here at Belmont, in the Belmont system. So just to sort of let you know, the Redevelopment Commission is becoming pretty active in issues like that. It is money that the school system would have received, as would other taxing entities, but we as a school system have traditionally supported use of TIF funds if it means trying to bring more people into town here. And so that's one of the things Redevelopment Commission is really spending a lot of time on. So just a couple things that are happening right now, but if you have any questions, be happy to.
All those things are very, very much on the radar for superintendents and our NIPSA, our lobbying network that we have here in Northeast Indiana with all the schools. Property taxes, again, fund our operations budget completely. And so there is a concern if there's significant cuts there, what we will be able to do. There's personnel paid out of that fund, and it's basically how we maintain our buildings and how we, from toilet paper all the way to custodial staff, to roofs, to whatever. So
Very essential items.
Yes, very much. And also the summer school is on our radar too. One thing that we're concerned about, that the 10 million might not be enough, because there's many schools who haven't offered summer school in years, and now with the requirement from the state that you have to offer remediation programs in the summer for those students at risk of not passing IREAD, we're going to see more schools asking for reimbursement for summer school programming. So those are all very, very important things. And again, some folks would say the residential TIF for your economic development, it might impact our operations, but again, for us to have families and growth, which is what I think ultimately is the biggest thing for us, we have to have homes. And it is true, I hear every year when we hire new staff or families are looking to move here, there's just not a lot of places for them to go, especially in a wide range of price points. And I think the apartments along the river and the park, again, whether or not those would be family type, anything we can do to improve quality of life in the different entities that because I've been on the housing project committee, that attracts people. When you have we have they've done a lot with downtown, and it's certainly the sculpture tour and a lot of the improvements on the fronts of all of our buildings downtown, but anything more that we can do to promote people there and quality of life and access to recreation and a positive downtown experience that's showing that there's a lot of the younger folks, family age and young professionals, that's what they want. They want access to a coffee shop, to nice little bistros and boutiques and pickleball courts or volleyball or whatever, and nature trails. And
Yeah.
so those are all great things that I think will only benefit us in the long run.
And one of the things, make sure everybody understands, the apartments that are being discussed in the downtown, those are market rate apartments. They're not subsidized in any way, so those will be apartments that will be what we call market rate apartments. So it's not like.
For sure.
Exactly, 100%. The one of the very first requirements redevelopment put in, if you're gonna use any of our money for this, it has to be market rate apartments. And so we have proceeded from day one as if that's, we have proceeded day one with that being the requirement. So no. The developer that is looking at it does not do market rate, or does not do subsidized apartments. So these will be high-end market rate, level apartments. And so these would be nice, they'll be very nice living units. That'll be an asset to the downtown area.
I think you're looking at your young professionals, young couples,
Mhm.
maybe a small young family, but
Yeah.
it's probably going to,
Yeah.
again, to our young professionals recently out of college,
Mhm.
going to college maybe and working at the same time, recently married, starter home, starter apartment.
We see some, potentially empty nesters or retirees also be
Yes.
part of that.
Yes.
One of the strategic moves that we really spent a lot of time with is trying to free up more homes within the city of Decatur. Really interesting statistic, and my number's gonna be off, but the concept is, you'll understand the concept, is that generally speaking, in communities our size, about a third of the homes are occupied by retirees and empty nesters. Here in Decatur, it's pushing 50%. So that tells you one thing. It tells that we are a very old community in Decatur. Now, those numbers aren't 100% right. So Eric, and please don't quote me, but the concept. But what it means is that those homes do not have students in them, that we are educating here at North Adams. And so we are traditionally an older community here in Decatur. So one of the strategic moves that we've been trying to do with redevelopment is, can we create situations where we still retain those retirees and empty nesters here in our community because they're such a wonderful asset, but move them into maybe a downsized situation to where now those homes are freed up for families, young professionals, or whatever it might be, that do have those students. And so that's one of the secondary reasons why, we've been really spending a lot of time on this apartment complex in the downtown area. So there's some other areas that we're looking at, but this is the one that we're spending our time with right now.
I just say Woodcrest is also supporting that too, what you just said.
Mhm. Yeah. Because, Woodcrest offers a great opportunity, to where if we can move people, still retain them within the community, but free up those homes, it opens up some opportunities for us, so thanks, Wiley.
And provides less maintenance and.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
A more positive situation for those who might not want to have to mow yard,
Mhm.
fix things,
Exactly.
worry about the furnace, all those things.
Well, that's me now.
What are those residential TIFs usually last?
It's either 20 or 25 years. There's a sunset on those. It's one of the two. It's one of the two. And the reason I question that, because one of them is 20 and one's 25. So it's either 20 or 25 years from the day you first draw from them. So it's not from the day you actually implement the TIF. It's from the day you take your first payment out of it. So in essence, 20 or 25 years. It's one of those two. By law. Now, a unit can choose to shorten that if they so desire.
Okay.
Traditionally, that doesn't happen, but by law, it's 20 or 25 years, one of those. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Other board member of public comment?
If anyone needs a mattress, I know the band is doing their fundraiser on the
Yes,
23rd
Thought
for
you were gonna say
Christmas.
you
I
had
thought you were gonna have a
strapped to the
sale or something.
Well, I saw
Things have
Hillbilly
really
out
gone
there,
south
they
for
were
us
really.
here lately.
So that's, what day is it again?
November 23rd.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I think that usually goes over quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a nice thing.
Hey, Kim, just one quick question. What is next year's graduation date in May or June?
Well,
whatever
it's
it
not approved
is?
yet.
The proposed, the concept.
It's on Friday, the
29th.
29th,
May 29th, okay. It can
if
change,
everything
but-
else goes
Right,
through.
okay, I just want to put a date down.
I did want to, next month, we will be celebrating our folks who have served and are leaving us, but I did want, since we have some special visitors, want to congratulate Wiley Cirque and Darlene Yankel for their recent election wins, and they'll be joining us in January as board members, so congratulations and look forward to working with you.
Any additional comment? Hearing none, we'll close the meeting. Thank you.